The 10 most important players for Florida State this season to turn this ship around.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel customers have a chance to get their future bets in, and it is going to be a big season in the NFL and college football, so do so today. We're going to be talking about the top 10 players for the Florida State Seminoles this season in terms of importance to win games. Not the best 10 players, but the value to the actual Florida State Seminoles brand and the win-loss column. That is the crux of today's conversation. But we're also going to follow that up with 3 prime questions for all the fans out there. And I want you to comment on all of them. I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to say them now. How many wins do you think are minimum they should get to? Number 2, what level of improvement do you expect to see? And you can pick defense, offense, both, whatever you want. And then finally, what is your biggest concern for this 2025 Florida State team? We'll get to those here in a little bit, but I'm down to the last 10 guys on my most important list. We're going to go 10 to 1, and then we will get to these questions. So number 10 is KJ Kirkland. This is a safety out of Rains High School in Jacksonville. It's his 3rd year now in Tallahassee. Looks like he's going to be the guy as a starter. I use him for a couple of different reasons. I had the opportunity to be around KJ when he was in high school, and there was a game they had against Ocala Trinity, and he was just unbelievable that night in that game. I don't remember if his team won, but he had an interception when he was playing on the far left hash. He went all the way across the field, made a diving interception, going out of bounds on the other side. It was just incredible. And he's one of those guys that just has the incredible ability to know where the ball's going, take the right angle, use his athleticism. He's really long. He's got size. He's over 6 foot tall, and he's a sharp kid too. He's very smart. I think he's one of the young men that probably would pick up about any defense a little bit faster than most. He's just naturally acute, but also with Tony White's defense being completely different, you need that. And it's probably one of the reasons that KJ's in the lineup. And finally, his size. FSU needs that size in the deep secondary. If you think about college football's best teams, think about Keon Coleman a couple years ago, Johnny Wilson, teams that didn't have big DBs had very little chance against Florida State. And even ones that did sometimes still struggled. Need that size in the deep secondary. That's my other reason for him being top 10. I think that he's one of those guys that, while several other DBs, Barker and several others, could end up in this spot post 2025 season. If Kirkland takes the steps forward that I think he's capable of, again, very intelligent, he's athletic, he's naturally gifted, he has a real charisma on the football field. People are going to be drawn to him. Like, he's easy to get along with, but he's a competitive guy. All those things together make him a very natural fit. I will not be surprised if Kirkland's top 3 at the end of this season in tackles. I think Elijah Herring will lead the team in tackles, but if he's top 3, wouldn't surprise me in the least. Number 9. Did a press conference with Florida State. Actually, just watched it. Jason Jenkins, the transfer out of the University of Tennessee, 6'6", 275. Just seeing him at the podium was a reminder. He's just like in a basic T-shirt. It was a reminder of what big-time defensive ends are supposed to look like. As I noted with KJ, Jenkins fits the profile of a big-time athlete, not just at the collegiate level, but at the pro level. 6'6", 275. He could still add more muscle, add more size, but he's coming off some injuries and he's finally healthy again. He's going to be expected to play a lot of snaps. And unfortunately, I think he's going to play more than he probably should. Hopefully it's under 500, but I'll be surprised if he's not over 400. That's a lot. But at the same time, this is a young man that can play defensive end. He can play the stand-up jack. And according to Coach Tony White, he can be the nose guard. I may have undersold him at number 9. It might have been top 5, but I digress. The point is still the same. If you look at him, kind of like the guys I got left on the list, The only reason that I'm a little bit nervous to put him higher is because he was banged up. We need to see him stay healthy now, but they really need a pass rusher that also has the ability to set the edge against the run. Those are rare players. But Florida State is known for rare defensive ends historically, and if you're going to climb up this ladder to get to the top of the mountain again, you got to have guys like this show up big. Against Alabama, we're going to see. He's used to playing in the SEC. He's been at Tennessee, but he's going to see real quick with these other guys that they got. Daniel Lyons, obviously Darrell Jackson, Williams, etc. Which guys are going to show up? Which guys are going to be held accountable? I think a lot of them are going to look to Jenkins. He was pretty complimentary during the press conference that I watched, but that length and that speed and that athleticism, if it stays on the field, it would be huge for Florida State. They don't have the depth right now that they need to have. And it's not because of talent, but it's just, it hasn't come together from what I've heard. Defense line has been a little disappointing to me, to be honest with you. So I'm curious to see how Jenkins does, but there's a chance that he's ends up being the most impactful guy up front in terms of actual tackles for loss. They're probably going to double Big Darrell. We'll talk about him in a little bit. So Jenkins might be that guy. He might have to be that guy. Number 8, this one is another guy that just recently did a press conference, Gunnar Hansen. Really athletic guy, has a lot of experience, played at Vandy, part of that team that was really good last year at Shock Bama, etc. Is he dominant, like just as a true run blocker? I wouldn't say that, but he's very competitive and he's been challenged about as much as you can playing in the SEC. I expect him to be a consistent player for Florida State. Hopefully he's really healthy. It sounds like he is. And seeing him move around, he looked that way. Fall camp, they were pretty fortunate, all things considered. A lot of the guys that got dinged early, or they were coming out of the summer with injuries. If he's able to hold down that left side, which is Tommy's backside, that's going to be very important for Florida State. Can't have your quarterback taking blindside hits. And like the rest of the starting lineup, they're all seniors or fifth-year seniors. They need that veteran leadership, man. They really, really do. Number 7. This one might surprise a few people, but I mean, he's taken Florida State by storm. Usman Kroma, the running back out of Lee County High School, Leesburg, Georgia. I don't know if he's ready for what he's going to have to go through, pass protection, catching the ball and everything, but he's such a good athlete, such a good young man. Kroma's very impressive. Like, if you ever get a chance to meet him, you will like this kid. Just great guy. I don't know him like on a personal level, but I've been around him, interviewed him a few times, always been very respectful. And he's just the kind of guy that everybody should enjoy being around. And it sounds like from his press conference at Florida State a week or so ago that he's just enjoying the process, going through in it. He's not asking for more than what he's deserved. He just wants a chance. Man, give me more of that humble pie. Love that stuff. That is a culture builder, and you've heard me talk about that a lot here at Locked On Seminoles. But now let's talk about the bread and butter of being a running back. Dude breaks tackles, man. You go watch Usman Kroma's film from when he was at Lee County, and that's big boy football in Georgia. I mean, that is an elite program. Their weight room is literally as good or better, not exaggerating, than like some NFL franchise, some of the stuff they have. And I'm not kidding. That's how serious it is there. And he was their guy for 3 years. Like, he came into the program as a freshman, like they knew he was good. But even then, he was a part of it. 10th, 11th, 12th, he was the guy. Catches the football well, over his shoulder, every little thing. But the number one thing he does is break arm tackles, and sometimes just runs right through the chest of somebody else. Physical, downhill back, over 210. This is an NFL player if he can stay healthy. We need to see him do it. And pass protection for me to believe that part of it, but the catching the football and the running the football, this is a guy that's probably going to average 5 or more yards a carry and be very consistent. And he's going to break some long runs just because he's going to run over somebody. Florida State fans are going to really, really like Mr. Kroma. Number 6 is James Williams. We're going to talk about him when we come back. Will he be the leading sack man for the Florida State Seminoles this year? We're going to talk about that next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who whip for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for your MVP, eyeing a bold shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race, maybe, or perhaps you've got somebody you really think is going to win it. For me, it's Joe Burrow. Maybe for you, it's Saquon Barkley. Whoever it is, FanDuel lets you make your decision. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because FanDuel Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am Brian Smith, longtime recruiting analyst. I invite you in to talk all things Noles, ACC, conference realignment, recruiting. That is definitely my bag, and everything else that comes along with being a Florida State football fan, and all the different things that are going to happen throughout college this year. It's a big transition year. We're even going to talk a little bit about the SEC in case you did not hear. The SEC is going to 9 games. How does that impact Florida State in recruiting, scheduling? There's a lot to unpack with that as well. We will get to all that soon. But right now, the guy that I want to talk about is James Williams, the defensive end / outside linebacker / jack of all trades pass rusher coming over from Nebraska. The transfer is an important player. And here's something that I think I probably didn't realize when he was first at Florida State for the spring and he got up there in front of the podium. They put him in front of everybody pretty quick. Now, he's a nice guy and he's an important player, but these things are not done just sleight of hand. They're planned out. I've been friends with media members for a long time that knew older guys in the SID office, etc. And I've gotten to know SIDs over the years. It is no secret. There are very few players that these people want to put in front of the media. And I mean, it is limited. To a certain degree, they have to do more than they want to anymore because the kids want the exposure. But if they could, they'd put about 5 guys out there all year and that'd be it. Because they want everything to be through a very small lens. They want people to know if anybody has any deficiencies or if the kid's going to talk about this, that, or the other bad. And if you could only pick 5, I just about guarantee you James Williams would be that guy. He's kind of an all shucks personality off the field, but he loved coming to Florida State. He talked great about Knighton and the opportunity with Coach White, and he was just happy to be a Nole. And I'm like, this Florida State needs more of this. And then you also take the 6'5", 262 pounds that he is, and you look at it, you go, man, that's exactly what a stand-up outside linebacker is supposed to be, that rushes the passer. Like, that's exactly what it is. And I was happy to see Florida State get him. But the more that we get into fall camp and the more consistent the information's been, there's been 2 things that I've noted. You don't hear a lot of talk about him. It's just, he's the guy. It's just been assumed. And it's kind of cool because Florida State needs that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have 11 sacks and 15 tackles for loss, but he's expected to be the guy. He's going to get challenged right away because, like, Caden Proctor at Alabama, 6'7", 366, is waiting on every defensive end FSU throws it his way. But Williams is one of those few guys that just fits the profile for any team in the country. Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State. He could fit into any of those schemes some way, shape, or form, from a personality standpoint, from a teammate standpoint, and then, yes, again, just the physical, raw tools that he has been blessed with by God. That is what Florida State needs. Part of the reason I have him as high as I do is because it just needs to happen. Now, he's been anointed. Now he's got to go prove it. But, like, this is the only player I'm probably going to do this with. He needs to have 7 or 8 sacks. I said, like, 11's a lot. But if he does not get to 7 or 8, some of the other goals that I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit probably won't be met as a team. That is unfortunate, but with the nature of 3-3-5 defenses, stand-up outside linebackers as pass rushers, there is a lot of pressure on that spot. It needs to produce raw numbers in tackles for loss, sacks, tackles, everything. It needs to be a playmaker to help other guys assimilate to the defense, be ready. And remember, he played for Coach White last year, so he's going to be comfortable. And finally, as I noted earlier when I was talking about Jenkins, Florida State has quite a few D-line, but not as many have hit, for lack of a better phrase, in fall camp as we thought there would be. That's unfortunate. The depth might be a little bit less than I thought. That is not good news. So James really, it is paramount that he hits and that he is consistent and that he is never out of the lineup very much at all. It's pretty razor thin at the top. Like Florida State starters are good, but are they ready? If he comes out of the lineup for an extended period, Jay Jones sounds like he's pretty good, but that's one guy. You've got to rotate, especially in North Florida, the heat. You got to rotate a bunch of guys. How many players would they be able to go past Jaden? That's the question. So James Williams needs to be a dude, be a leader, help guys with the defense playbook constantly. He is a very valuable tool. Next up on the list at number 5, Jerry Wilson. Osceola High School, Kissimmee, Florida, goes Syracuse, transfers Houston, transfers to FSU. Even Tommy Castellanos mentioned the other day at the press conference, Jerry gets it done, man. He gets to the ball. He surprises you. He does exactly what he needs to do in terms of reading keys, understanding what position to be in, what technique to use, which players are out there on the field that are most likely to get the ball. He's all that. You wanted to use one word for Wilson from all the things that we've heard in the media, Wilson would be savvy to anything. Savvy. And that's a great term for a DB. So Savvy Jerry is going to be going out there and making it happen. I think that he's a kid that will probably, it would be, I got to be careful here. He should lead Florida State in interceptions, but if he starts red hot, teams might just avoid him like the plague. So I got to be careful. If he was a free safety, he would, because it's kind of hard to avoid some of the safeties occasionally. You get some freebies on tip balls and overthrows, but don't be surprised if he at least leads Florida State in pass breakups. And as far as corners, he'll probably lead them in snaps, tackles, maybe interceptions and PBUs. Like, he is a valuable tool. But the most important thing, this from listening to him talk and everything, is just his moxie. Like, he's one of those guys that adapts to the room and what's needed. And he was so excited to be at Florida State when he was talking to the media. I'm like, man, this is great. Florida State football is trying to lift itself back up. Wilson's one of those guys that's capable of helping you do that. And good for him. Good for Florida State. You need character guys like that are also high-level performers. And he's proven. He's going to finish his career at the school that he grew up rooting for. Good for Mr. Wilson. I'm hoping he has the kind of year that I think, because everything that's been out there is like he's probably their best defensive player. Down-to-down consistency in the back seven, maybe the team. So they need him to produce. Number 4 won't surprise anybody. That's Deuce Robinson. 2 reasons I think that he will be very, very good above all else. Number 1, it's just the God-given size, natural hands, all that. He's going to make catches that other guys can't because of what he's been blessed with. And that is great for Florida State. But number 2, he doesn't take it for granted. When I first met Deuce, that would have been 3 years ago. He was at the Elite 11 finals. He's a greater LA kid. He was out there helping snag balls. And like, they get a bunch of local kids with these 7-on-7 tournaments or Elite 11 tournaments. But Deuce is out there. He was recruited by every school in the country. And he's out there running as hard, doing everything else possible. And I'm like, that is not normal. I'd never seen that before. So I knew he ticked a little differently. He had a pretty good time at USC in terms of making plays and doing whatnot, but they were so loaded at receiver. He transfers, comes to Florida State. He's going to be the number 1. This is a guy that from all signs, from everything around the Florida State media, has been locked in. He's the guy. He's going to be the jump ball threat. I mean, maybe he's the Johnny Wilson type. I don't know how else to say it. He's 6'5", 6'6", 220 pounds. And above all else, he wants it. Like, he enjoys his craft. Florida State needs more of that. Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to finish up with the top 3. Then we're also going to go to those 3 questions. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or in your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. With Monarch Money, it makes it easy for you and your significant other to view all your finances in one place, making it convenient to help yourselves, your kids, and your grandchildren. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Let's break down the most important players for Florida State, the top three, beginning with number 3, Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle / nose guard / defensive end. When I watched Jason Jenkins' press conference today, Jason mentioned that depending on how they wanted to go in a certain formation, against a certain situation, whatever it is, because Tony White's defense is the definition of multiple up front. Sometimes Darrell's in the 5 tech, sometimes he's in the 1. They move him around. But with that being said, I would be surprised if his primary isn't nose guard, especially early in the year, as they get more guys acclimated to the defense and more guys earn playing time. I don't think Darrell's going to come off the field much. Against Alabama, that concerns me a little bit. I also think there's the concern of how are they going to be able to handle his reps in practice. Like they pretty much need for him to walk around in a body cast for the next week. He can't even get dinged. He's got to be on the field against Bama, but I digress. I just don't think they're going to be able to block him one-on-one. He'll create a lot of double teams, and therefore you're talking about an opportunity for Elijah Herring, Stephon Thompson, and a whole bunch of other guys like Nicholson or whoever, Cryer, to make tackles. That linebacker group is fast. They're pretty experienced. They should have a pretty good time with Darrell in the lineup. However, if Florida State's really going to maximize him, they got to turn him loose some. And I don't know if the following is going to happen much again. Got to figure out who's going to play nose guard when he's not at that spot. But he's going to make more actual plays when he's not at nose, when he's playing strong side end, when he's playing defensive tackle in more one-on-one situations. How do they do that? Which guys can get in there? I'm a little bit concerned that they're not going to be able to play it that well. When the freshman was the backup nose guard, but he's banged up. So that's concerning. We need to see him get those chances because Darrell could put up some big numbers if he's not at nose, but he's so invaluable at taking up 2 blocks. Nose guards usually get doubled, not always, but usually if they're on that level of talent. So I'm curious to see what Coach White, Coach Potroast do. That's going to be a chess match. And by the way, Alabama's starting center is a future NFL guy, so that could be one heck of a battle. Number 2, Luke Pettibone, the center, the guy that would line up in practice straight across from Darrell. His leadership has been announced numerous times. Coach Herb Hand, the head coach, Mike Norvell, like some of the other players, and just the vibe that we get from like seeing him up at the podium. Anybody in the media that saw him was probably like, this guy's ready to eat his own hand. He likes it. He loves the grind of football. Being an interior offensive lineman is a grind. Like going against guys like Darrell, I'm sure he's going to say differently at a press conference, and I get it, but like it can't be that much fun. But he said, I get to compete against as talented players there is. I get that, but it still probably isn't fun. He knew how to answer the question, though. I like him as your pivot guy because he's a 3-year starter in the ACC at Wake Forest. He's a smart dude. I mean, he went to Wake Forest. That's an elite school. He's probably going to be able to handle the playbook better than most. And finally, he's just super fiery and competitive. Florida State needs more fire and competitiveness. After last year, yes. Sign me up for that. A ton of it. Give me all you can give. To that point, I'm curious to see how he does against Alabama, who's got a massive line. James Smith, Clay Russo, and all these different guys up front. They're pretty nasty. They got a bevy of linebackers, and their DB room is really good. That could be as good a defense as Florida State sees this year by a pretty good margin, even though they play Clemson. It's not out of the question. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but Alabama's depth, I think, is going to be better than some believe. While I think Clemson's not going to be quite as good as some believe, but that's just me. Point is still the same. Alabama is going to be a really big test. If Pettibone can get them in the right calls, make sure that nobody's really outside their realm of where they need to be, no misses on assignments. You know, again, have quarterback, running back getting blown up on a guy getting set free, especially at like a 0 tech or 2 tech. If they can do that, Florida State can at least hang around in that game and set the tone and be off to a good season. But it starts with Pettibone, making sure everybody's in the right place. It's the mental side of this more than him moving guys out of the way. And I think having a 3-year starter at center come into your program is huge. And then number one, the obvious choice, Tommy Castellanos, quarterback of the Florida State Seminoles. I feel even better about this pick now than I did like a week ago. His most recent press conference, Tommy was more reserved. There was no shenanigans on calling Alabama out. He was just very, very, very relaxed. I can't put it into words for you. You literally have to go watch it. Go watch the YouTube video, type in Tommy Castellanos press conference. I'm telling you, he looks ready to go. And he was just comfortable in his own skin. For one, he's matured and all that. But he's happy with where his teammates are. That was the thing. I was like, oh, this is good news, because I was worried that so many receivers have been banged up from spring all the way to now, on and off. There would be some apprehension because he hasn't got enough time in. He didn't make it seem that way. But the biggest thing, again, is the maturity, knowing what to say, how to say it, being graceful with everybody in the media. That kind of calm demeanor usually translates to calm decision-making. Not saying it's going to be perfect, but he needed to take it down a notch in terms of always being on full go. You can't hit tilt on every play. And he even brought that up in his press conference, which shocked me. He's like, sometimes, best plays, like I just throw it at somebody's feet. You got to know when the play is over. And I'm like, golf clap. Golf clap. That's exactly right. If Thomas Castellanos does that on a consistent basis, Florida State's going to be a hell of a lot better off than if he didn't. Don't turn the ball over. It's okay if a drive ends on a punt, extra point, or field goal. Do not turn the ball over. So Tommy Castellanos is my number one player, and I think that they've gotten a little more chemistry than what I originally expected, full disclosure, and that it will end well for Florida State there. They'll score more than people think. They'll be a little over 30 points a game, and they won't turn it over as often as some think, which is going to help that defense, which I think is a little bit thinner than I'd originally hoped. That is definitely a concern. Now for those 3 questions that I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to read them again. Please comment down below with whatever you think is most applicable to you. How many wins for Florida State this year? I've already went on record. I said I think 8-4. I'm going to go ahead and continue with that. Number 2, what level of improvement do you think for this Florida State team? And you can answer that in however many different ways you want. Talk about special teams. You can talk about Tommy. You can talk about play calling, win-loss rate. Any way you want to answer that, or multiple, have at it. Comment on Locked On Seminoles. And finally, what is your number one concern for this Florida State football team that might impact them and keep them from reaching their goals? Take injuries out of it. That's the easy one. Besides injuries, what's the number one factor for them not making their goals? Is it a position? Is it a coaching situation? Is it something else? What is the number one reason you think Florida State will or will not make their goals? Like I said, I already answered the wins. I'm going 8-4. Level of improvement, I want to see line play that's consistent. Last year, there were too many run gap fits that were garbage, and then offensively, guys just running free. They should be functional. They should average over 200 yards a game rushing, and defensively, if they hold up, need to see how the depth comes along. They should be a top 25 rush defense. If it's not, because a lot of guys aren't stepping up the way we thought they were, my 8-4 record doesn't have a shot in the world to come. It might be more like 6-6. So we need to see that happen. And I think the offensive line I'm pretty good with. D-line's a little more concerning to me because it just doesn't sound like the depth is hit. So hopefully that's part of it, but we'll see. My biggest concern is what I just talked about, that the backups do not continue to improve enough. I'm not saying they're not going to improve at all. O-line, D-line, that when somebody does go down, like if Darryl tweaks his ankle 2 weeks into the season, that's no bueno. Somebody's got to play, though. Who's the next guy into the lineup is the first part of the equation, but the more important part of it to get the correct answer. Who's that player that may not have thought he was going to play much? Has he been training hard, though? Because now he's second string. The difference between third and second string is massive when your spot has the guy at the top of the line that's an NFL player like Darrell. Do they have guys grinding all the way through this season to continue to get better and to approach it like they're going to start? That's how you win games. If they have more of that, and last year it was obvious they didn't get enough of that commitment, if they have that buy-in, Florida State could be a team that surprises some people. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am Brian Smith, longtime recruiting analyst. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon on Locked On Seminoles.